Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're from. My name is Michael Greeno. I am the owner and prime developer for Barpath Powerlifting Analytics. I want to bring you the latest feature and the most near and dear to my heart feature that I have ever created. This is taken a long time. This is by far the biggest endeavor uh, that I have brought forth in the last, 6 to 8 months of building Barpath officially. And I want to preface it by saying, you know, powerlifting as a whole and everything we do is a journey, right? It's when I was trying to build Barpath out before it was named Barpath, I had flirted around with names like PL Quest or Powerlifting Quest or Powerlifting Journey or PL Journey. Uh, but I rested on Barpath because it was a kind of a play on the word and play on what I was trying to do and what we were trying to like accomplish, right? So, but one thing I always wanted to do was bring meaning to the chapters that we told in the sport. And I wanted to combine a way to give agency to a person, to a lifter, in a way that allowed for that to permeate and exist in one cohesive manner. Because one of the big problem points in the sport is that we don't always merge the competition data and the goals and the wants and the dreams versus the actuals. And that is what I bring you today with Barpath Journeys. And that's what it's named. And it's a little cheesy, but it is just what it sounds. It is a journey. These are individual chapters in our stories. And what we do is we document that and tell those stories how we continue to move forward, right? So it doesn't live in this nebulous world anymore. It lives in this realm of actual, and we actually understand what it means to be, through all of this. So without further ado, when you're logged in, this is a pro feature. It's the latest pro feature for Barpath. And what you'll do is under your you section or my section, you'll have my profiles, my journeys. If you're a coach, my coach page, etc. So if I go to my profile, you can also go to my journey as well. But on my profile, you look at all the stuff. You'll have your journey tab. You'll have overview about just like everything else, your social media, your social things as well. But then if you click on just journey or my journey, it'll take you straight here. Now, when you first come here, there'll be zero results. Absolutely zero. They'll basically tell you, hey, your next meet deserves a story, or you deserve a story. Backfill your stuff. You can backfill your meets. You can declare a chapter. Uh, and what those basically mean is that you can backfill your data with the meet you've done, or you can start a new one. And what we'll do is we'll start out with a backfill. I'll kind of show you with what one looks like initially. Um, so this is what a backfill chapter would look like in its entirety. So I'm going to start from scratch, and then you basically look at all the meets you've already competed in, et cetera. Right. So these are mine. Uh, and you can select the ones that are essentially ones that are yours, right? And you can select one at a time, or the ones that you want to do, the ones that you do want to do. Maybe you don't want to do Fighter Quick Classic or something to that effect because, or the meet that just didn't turn out really well, etc. Right. And so you select one and you go backfill meet, right? And that'll backfill it and it'll bring it in, right? And then from there, I'm going to switch to bar showdown. But essentially, what it is you're going to essentially have the data all there for you. Um, but then it'll be up to you to kind of enter your information. And that information is everything from the marginalia, in other words, the data, the comments, the different things that you've done, um, your then versus now, your pacing, different pacings and different things like that. And what you'll want to do is you'll end up logging your weeks, right? And you'll end up logging all the information stuff is backfilling the information, of what you have and what you've done. And all this is you're going to do your top sets, your squat, your bench, your deadlift, the RPEs, the number of reps, etc. Right. And then what you'll do is you'll see what your prep is, adjust the dates. You have deloads, pivots, and tapers. You can see that I have some deloads and some tapers in here. And then, so when I go back to bar showdown, you see these data points and these pivots, right? My deloads are strategically placed. My taper was from here. This is where I ended up connecting from here at 1725, based upon that. So you can kind of see like when my taper came up, but then like I drew, from here to here, um, like what that kind of looks like, right? So I think what we're going to do in this respect is that we're going to see, you're going to see these lines with the deloads and stuff like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to end up seeing a parallel line kind of sit across and go progressively upward, right? And that's what we'll see. Your different, retrospective and reflective data. You can sit here and you can enter that information, any notes that you have, um, in that respect when you edit your weeks and different things like that, right? So when it all kind of comes out, you can make it public and make it private. So right now it's a private thing, but if I make it public, now this is something I can share. This is something I can copy a link to. This is something I can share a story and create an image off of it or something to that effect. If I go to my journey, you're going to see all of my stuff. If I'm like an anonymous user, in making it public, other people can see your journeys. Other pro members, other people can see your journeys. They can see what you've done. They can see basically your story as you tell it, and they can understand it and things like that. But the most important part about this is it lives with you. It lives with you, the lifter. It lives with you in your own recollection of it and how it is, right? And that's how you would do the backfill. But that's not meant to be like how it's supposed to be. How it's supposed to be is an active journal of sorts. What we do is we declare a chapter and we move forward in that chapter. So if I declare a chapter, what I do is I'll enter my lifting cast meet that I'm doing, or I'll enter, if I know that, I'll enter the meet name, right? So, best meet in the universe, right? And then I'm going to put in, how long that meet prep is, right? So it's going to say I'm 16 weeks out. I'm going to do the 110 kilo class. I'm going to do it raw. And now what this is going to do is it's going to name the chapter. And this is where it starts developing meaningful understanding of all of this. What is this chapter for you and what does it mean? Is it, a long crawl back? Is it, uh, something you prove to yourself? Is it a qualifier for a bigger meet? What is this? What are your goals? Like what is the theme of this particular chapter for you, right? What does this mean to you? I want to be the best in the universe, you know. So you put in that name and you commit to it at that point, right? So you go into your goals. That's next. And so as that continues forward, once It's loading. Um, oh, it's loading. Well, it actually wasn't loading. It was doing something different. I forgot to set the federation. Uh, United Federation of Powerlifting Planets. I don't know. Some, I don't know. So then we set our goals from here. And now we see our meet and we say, what we want to do, be the best meet in the universe, whatever. We set our targets. What do we want to do? Um, do I want to PR my total? What's my total going to be? 800 kilos. What's what I want? Do I want a 200 or 300 squat and maybe a 200 and um, 220 pound or 220 kilo deadlift, and I want that, right? And I want my dots, to kind of give me that, and then my weight ceiling, let's just say 110 kilos, right? And it calculates my dots. If I want to qualify for meet, what total I need to qualify for a meet, whether it be nationals or worlds or universal, whatever. What placement do I want to be? Do I want to be number one, right? Going 9 for 9, right? I don't want to go 9 for 9. Maybe I want 7 out of 9 attempts, and I want to go 3 for 3 on squat. I want to PR every lift. Let's just say that. So these are some different goals that you have for yourself, and you have to sit here and you have to reflect on it a little bit, and you have to understand it a little bit. Like, what does that mean to you, right? What are you trying to do in this chapter of your um, chapter of everything that you're doing, and chapter of lifting, and chapter of life? It's more than just lifting. This is where you're at. You're navigating things. You're navigating life. You're navigating goals. Like, these are tightly connected to what we do in our life. So then we do that. We check this. I want to be the best in the universe. The clock and the goal and the total and all that stuff. And then we start the 16 weeks. Then, so what you notice, it's just blank. There's not anything. We just have our goals. We have what we're doing, and we have the different things that we do, right? So we have our climb. We have where we're at. We're kind of settling into everything. We're 16 weeks out, and we can go through and we can edit this if we need to. If we need to make a change, we can. But then when we go into this and we do our week to week over goals, is now we start logging our data, right? We're available on week one. Um, our subsequent weeks load week over week over week, and so we can see those. But right now we start at one. Um, we're not going to inundate ourselves all the way down through the entire process, but this is what we see, right? So for this week, let's just say, I'm set, have everything set to pounds. You can set it to kilos. I did, 517 for 4 reps at RP7, 396 for 2 reps at RP9, and then I deadlifted 545, let's just say, for 4 reps at RP7, and I'm sitting at 254 body weight, right? Um, week one feels good, but we have a long way to go. Safe. So we go back to chapter. We have it from our logs. We go back to our chapter. Now we have a starting point, right? We have a starting point, and what is, as you can imagine, this starts compounding. What's my estimated 1 rep max? What's my goal? What's my comp PR? What's everything? What I'm averaging? What I'm doing? My digest for my logs and stuff. What my total is? What I'm kind of going toward right now? Like, what's happening? It starts pacing. You know, so this is what you can see as a lifter, and then once you start getting closer, you have a meat card, and that meat card starts really delineating what we're trying to do and what we're trying to understand. So right now it's kind of going off some basic suggestions, and then you have different cues and different things like that, so you can have things for your meat, but you have your goals and what you're trying to actually like accomplish, right? This is your meat card. It is developing organically based upon what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, based on your goals, based on your suggestions, based on everything you're doing. You can print this sheet off, um, and you can see everything that you're trying to do if you really wanted to like go the archaic way, right? Um, and then you print it off and go from there. But then you can actually, you can open at a glance, and you can kind of see things at a glance, and different things like that, where it's just like this is a very basic view for yourself to call attempts and have someone call attempts for you or whatever. But what if you are a coach? What if you're working with a coach? You have your accumulation, you have your intensification, you have your peak, and you have your meet, right? Um, you have your different goals, you have the gaps. You're pacing all this yourself. This lives with you, but what if you want to involve a coach? That's easier than ever, right? With Barpath Journeys, you can connect yourself with a coach, just like you are now. If one of your coaches is on here, and you can see everything that you need to see. But the thing about it is this transcends your coach. This lives with you. This is your own story. This is your own journey. And so if you switch coaches, you always keep your data. So, with that said, we go to coaches, right? So I'm already in coaches right now, but I'm just going to kind of show you, uh, you know, go to pragmatic strength, and you're going to see journeys, right? As a coach, you come in here and I see journeys, and I see my people. I see my roster. I see all my people who are there right now. I'm in the off season. Once I get closer to like 12 weeks out, I'll move over to accumulation. I can swap over to accumulation if I want. Maybe I'm not doing off season right now. Maybe I'm doing an accumulation, and then I'll move to an intensification. Maybe I'll, meet week, taper, and stuff like that. Your people will auto adjust based upon those particular areas, right? And then you'll see how pacing works, right? So today, like where I'm at here, like versus the pacing and the different things that are going on right now. If I have multiple people, you'll see that it's pacing in multiple directions. So to kind of give you an example of that, I have my test data, and I've kind of how it works and stuff like that. You can see like I have a bunch of test people and people that I have kind of added on and off of my roster, and I've switched them to different rosters, etc. Here is how my people are pacing. I see where people are at and where they're at in their meet journeys and things like that. I can look at pacing, and I can see where everybody might be. I can see where their week fours are at, where they're at, or where people are pacing in their individual meets, right? And if I zoom in on this for you guys, you can see that. You can see the individual areas where people might be at. I can see meet day stuff. Like what are people doing? Like I can sit here and I can create these lifters notes and their information while they're during their meet week, right? They have this information and how it's linked, and so that they can look at this, and I can write cues for them, and I can have this information for them, right? Now this is set as this test data and demo data compared to production, but you can see how this works, right? So, for me, this is production. This is what I see currently, but this is what it could look like overall, right? When you just have multiple people kind of working through different swim lanes and different things. So when people have this, now if you have people working through the off season, you can have people just working down through these lists, right? So that's incredibly powerful, right? But as a coach, I can sit here and I can look at my roster, and I can go into Michael Greeno, which is me, and I can see all the stuff. I can write chapters on a week. It's like squat look good. Definitely a good place to start for 16 weeks out. Let's make sure we concentrate on bracing, right? And I can write that note as a coach, right? For week one, right? I can change everything. I can change things, and I can override things. So if I was like, yeah, it looked closer to a 6, this actually looked closer to a 10, or something to that effect, I can actually make adjustments to the entire thing as a coach, I can adjust things for them, or I can even enter that stuff for them, right? I can do this, I can provide this service for them. I can see all the things that they see, plus I see the general marginalia of everything that they have, and what things are drawing. And it'll kind of show you and it kind of give you information that you need. Uh, as far as how things are pacing and how things are going as a coach, right? So you can administer this as a coach. But should you part ways with your coach, again, this all lives with the lifter. You could have four different coaches, you could have two coaches, you could have whatever. You'll always have this information. You'll always get this information. So, say you leave a coach and you go to a new one, they can look back at the previous chapters and they can look back at previous notes and dialogues and stuff and how you worked with people. Or even if you were self coach, you could see all this information about you and they could understand you better. This is your journey. They need to understand where you've came from and so they can understand where you're going, right? It's all about understanding you better, right? So, as we progress through this, you see this starts collecting more and more and more data, right? So if I sit here and I go to, you know, me on my local like development server, you're going to see that I go into my journey, sneak down. You'll see that I kind of have all of my stuff loaded. I have all my journeys loaded. I see all my different things, single ply, wraps, raw. I see my entire journey, right? This was my single ply arc, right? I was going single ply and then I went to wraps and then I got hurt. It's just like you can kind of tell, like, I was doing great. I got hurt, right? And it's just like these different things. It's like, okay, I was doing well, then I got hurt. And then I went back in my single ply arc and I started doing really, really, really well. And I did, went into my wraps and then I got hurt. And then I started clawing myself back and then I got hurt again. And then, it's kind of one of those types of things where it's just you start progressing through things. And these are kind of current ones and different current arcs, et cetera, test data, et cetera. Um, so these are my public chapters that people can just look at. But then as for myself, I go to all my chapters and I can see all of my data, right? I can see where I've gone, what I've done. These are my current chapters. These are ones that are not, you know, my different goals. Like my test of sunflowers is another one. It just says, okay, this is what I've done. These are my goals. These are what I've done. This is what I missed. This is what I hit. Uh, and this is all of my data, right? And this just tells me everything. And I can save this, right? I can save this and I can see literally everything. Literally everything. And that'll save an image and that'll save a copy and then I can actually post that to Instagram and I can do those things. I can make this public or private. I can copy a link for this and tell me where I need to go or something to that effect. I can do all the social media side of things, but it basically puts us in a very intuitive thing, right? And I can set it back to private if I wanted to, etc. Right? So, this is essentially, and I go back to all chapters and I can, kind of look at some of my, you know, my open chapters and the things that are open or not closed or something to that effect. Right. But then I can look at, you know, my current things. I can look at where I'm going, what I'm doing, and you pace forward with that. At its heart, Barpath Journeys is meant to literally just make sense of everything that we do. It is meant to connect the dots from our goals, our actuals, and our what we want to do, where we want to go, how we want to do it. If we miss a goal, what does that look like? What does it mean? Also, I'm in light mode. You can definitely go to dark mode to make it look better, but I think light mode kind of makes things look a little more professional, uh, and it helps for visibility purposes. But ultimately, guys, you know I want you to use this. Pro members, I want you to use this. I want you to get out there. I want you to start your stories. I want you to start your journeys. Backfill one of your backfill your last meet. Take all your training data, take from your coaches app and stuff like that. It's not meant to replace an entire workflow. It's meant to visualize and put your coach's data and your data and put it together and talk about it, right? For 15 seconds a week, you just come in here, you log your data and you log your data and you're done, right? You have a delog week and that's literally all you log. And that data is persisted and it's controlled and it's visualized. And your coach can look at you and they can see you and they can see what you're doing and they can see how you're progressing. And when you have those conversations, you have real tangible metrics that are legitimately play into this. From a future state, this opens up a wide door for things that we can do as powerlifters. We can take this data and look at other metrics, and we can look at other things when you have enough people that are collected with this type of data. Um, but I want to bring this. I want to bring this as a step one to all of you guys. I want this to be a very powerful agent of understanding and recollection and reflection for everybody. I want you to be able to see your path and make sense of it. Um, and I want you to be able to use this as like a journal and to provide meaning and insight of everything that you're doing, right? I will be linking achievements to this. I will be linking additional metrics um, for you uh, and adding additional information. As we go, as you use it, it'll all be, and as we continue to use this, and as we continue to make it better, and as you continue to add more data, we will make this better with achievements, with more metrics, more data. Uh, Barpath Journeys will become the essential platform for many to track their data. It'll be a comprehensive platform that helps bind coaches to lifters to transition periods in coaching. It will be the glue that binds everything together, right? And brings meaning to everything. It is the web that makes the spider, capable of doing what it does, right? So I hope this is helpful and I hope you enjoy it and go out and use it. Thanks, guys.